Welcome back. We're discussing the prospects for a nuclear-free world. Joining me today is Global Zero Commissioner and former U.S. Ambassador Richard Byrd. Ambassador Byrd has served as the chief U.S. negotiator in the strategic arms reduction talks with the former Soviet Union. Among many other high-level diplomatic appointments, he was also U.S. ambassador to Germany during the Reagan administration. As we get back to questions, a call from the UK, and Tolly's on the line. Go ahead, Tolly.
My question to this gentleman is that he says that Israel hasn't signed any treaty, any nuclear treaty, so they have the right to do to generate these nuclear weapons. My question is: so supposing Iran declares that they are not going to abide by this treaty, they don't want to go with this treaty anymore. Okay. Would the world leave them alone so that they can build their own nuclear weapons? Because that's the only argument that they have against Israel. That because Israel.
Tolly, let's get the ambassador a chance to answer on that.
Well, no, I certainly wasn't trying to suggest, as the caller put it, that Israel, because it's not a member of the NPT, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, that it has the right to deploy nuclear weapons. I was suggesting that it would be a good thing if Israel did join the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It would be, I think, very stabilizing if they took that step. But in the case of Iran, Iran did take on those commitments, and I think in the case of any country that joins that treaty, they should be held accountable. And I hope that through efforts of negotiation, not only between the United States and Russia, but with China, with India, Pakistan, Britain, and France, that Israel's nuclear arsenal would be similarly covered and reduced to zero. So it's certainly part of our ambition and our effort here to eliminate at the end of the process Israel's nuclear weapons, along with everybody else's. Okay.
So we have a regular caller on, Reginald. Good to have you back from Fiji. Go ahead, Reginald.
Yes. Good morning. Yes, I was just thinking, even if Iran had the bomb, chances are who's going to fire the first bomb? There's so many countries with bombs. No one has fired one yet, except America at Nagasaki and all that. So the chances are, even if Iran had a bomb, would it fire it? I don't think they'll be so stupid enough to use it. Thank you. Okay.
Well, that's a very interesting argument, because there are some people out there that say, you know, nuclear weapons are so devastating that they act principally as a deterrent to anybody using military force. And that makes a certain amount of sense. But if you look at the history of the Cold War between the United States and Soviet Union carefully, you'll see that we had some close calls. And I'll just remind you of the Cuban Missile Crisis, for example, when the Soviet Union was moving its missiles and nuclear warheads into Cuba. That almost led to an armed confrontation and opened the possibility of a nuclear exchange between the United States and Soviet Union. If you look at the Middle East today, you look at the instability, you look at the conflict, wars in Iraq, wars in Afghanistan, instability in Pakistan, which is a nuclear power, and the possibility of other conflicts. I am very nervous about a region that might have 4 or 5 nuclear powers. I think that either in the Middle East or in some other region, if more than 20, 25 countries acquire nuclear weapons, sooner or later nuclear weapons would be used.
Well, Ambassador, we had a couple of fatalistic comments from viewers, and here are 2 examples. The first is from a viewer in Karachi, in Pakistan. Kareem Raza wrote in saying, "Yes, I'm sure one day the world will reach complete disarmament, but only after killing millions of people, like we saw in Japan." And the second one, also sent through Facebook, is from Olu Sampson, who wrote in saying, "While we are busy on one hand researching new ways of arms proliferation, we are on the other talking of disarmament. I think man is confused and is tirelessly working towards self-destruction." I guess so many people realize it's a zero-sum game. I mean, it's a lose-lose situation.
Well, I think we're at a really pivotal point here. I think in 10 years from now, we'll either live in a world with, as I said before, 20 or 25 nuclear powers, and that sooner or later one or more of those weapons will be used in anger and millions will die. Or we have the opportunity, I think, to pursue the agenda that President Obama outlined at the UN last week, where with U.S.-Russian reductions, with the NPT, the Nuclear Proliferation Review Conference coming up with the treaty next June, with President Obama's Nuclear Security Summit, which he's called for in April, with a comprehensive test ban of all nuclear tests, we could begin to turn this around. I mean, I think we have the choice of either getting nuclear non-proliferation after millions have died and governments and people demand the end of nuclear weapons, or if we're smart enough, we can forestall that event by taking action now to really reduce and then eliminate nuclear weapons.
We had, the issue of the Security Council last week resolving to seek a safer world for all and to create the conditions for a world without nuclear weapons. We had a comment from a viewer by the name of Julie Machik that came through our Facebook page as well. Nuclear disarmament will continue to get more difficult as access to technology and knowledge has made it possible for almost any country to possess a nuclear bomb. So what specific measures would you suggest, sir, to create the conditions for a nuclear free world?
Well, the first and most important measures, in my view, are for those countries that have nuclear weapons to show other states that they can reduce and eliminate them. I think that that to the extent to which people recognize that nuclear weapons are not the kind of deterrent weapons that they served in the Cold War, but in a different international environment, that they could fall into the hands of terrorist groups, and other sub-state groups, that the danger of nuclear war is growing. I think that the real technology that we want to proliferate in the 21st century is information technology, the internet, technologies that are going to allow us to communicate more closely, and technologies that are going to be the formation of a more open international culture, not the technology of figuring out how to kill people.
We have Turkey on the line. Good to hear from Turkey. Angie, what would you like to ask?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Is that Riz Khan?
Yeah, hi. Go ahead, please.
Hi, yeah. I'm here, and I'd just like to question the earlier suggestion that Turkey would be buying nuclear weapons from Iran.
Okay, Ambassador, what motive would Turkey have, do you think?
Well, Turkey is a big power in the region. It borders on Iran. It's a country that cares very deeply about the preservation of its state and its security. The Turkish military plays a very important role in Turkish politics, and I don't think the Turks would be comfortable having only one sort of major nuclear power in their neighborhood. In this case, Iran. I think that's why I mentioned Turkey in the same sentence with the Saudis, who would worry about a dominant Iran, the Egyptians, who have seen themselves as a leader in the Arab world. I think all of every one of these countries has a kind of incipient pro-nuclear movement, and so far those movements haven't succeeded in getting their governments to acquire nuclear weapons, I think under the assumption that it would be destabilizing. But that could all change in the event that Iran chose the nuclear path.
On the issue of deterrent, we had a comment from Lahore in Pakistan that came in through Facebook. Mustansar Malik wrote in saying, what history tells the weaker nations is that if you have the capability to eliminate the other, then you can live in peace. So in the case of a country such as North Korea, for example, what would you suggest is the best strategy? Would it be the carrot or the stick, or possibly a combination?
Well, North Korea is one of the toughest cases you can think of, because they have so far used their nuclear program as a form of blackmail. As you know, it's a small, poor state. I think they've tried to get food aid and other forms of assistance by threatening to go nuclear. And the political future of North Korea is very unclear at this point. So I wouldn't want to sort of make a broad judgment about what policies work best in the case of North Korea, because it's such a special case. But I don't agree with the email in the sense that that the only alternative of weaker states is to acquire nuclear weapons to deter their stronger neighbors. There are plenty of examples where weaker states following that policy have actually created a situation where the stronger state is tempted to strike before the weaker state gets stronger. So I think that just as in the case of any other situation, I think it's very important for India and Pakistan to find solutions to their problems. And in particular, in this case, I would point to the need to do something about Kashmir. It's a long simmering problem, And it's just like the Israeli-Palestinian problem. It needs much more attention and focus.
So literally 15 seconds to go. A question from our live station chat room. Abdullah in the UK says, why is the US so much more concerned of Iran having nuclear weapons than North Korea?
Well, I think it's because of this cascade effect. I think the North Korean problem, if the North Koreans who already have nuclear weapons build up their arsenal, it's not going to lead to a proliferation of other countries. Right. In the most volatile region in the world is the greater Middle East, whether we like it or not, and that's where Iran lives.
Right. Well, sir, I thank you very much for your input. It was great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. Remember, you can follow me on Facebook and get updates on our show topics. Be sure to add your questions and comments, and we'll try to include them in the program. You'll also find videos made exclusively for my Facebook page there. On the next show, the other Guantanamo, Bagram Detention Center in Afghanistan, is actively receiving prisoners, and some say it's still using questionable interrogation practices. From me and the team, we'll see you next time.